To unpack the multifaceted implications of the Israeli airstrike in Doha, this episode features two distinguished guests and experts: Mohammed Osman, an international relations specialist based in Cairo, and Jim Townsend, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Washington. Their insights will help clarify the geopolitical dimensions, U.S. Israeli strategic ties, and the strike's impact on peace prospects in the Middle East. A very warm welcome to the program, and it's a pleasure to have you both with us today. Mr. Osman, what does Israel's strike in Doha reveal about its regional strategy?
Thank you for having me, Rana. Greetings to you and to the honorable guest. Of course, I think that we can only describe Israel's actions at the moment in the region, whether in Qatar or any of the other countries that have been subjected to Israeli attacks, is basically an act of a state of perpetual impunity. Israel knows that it will not be held accountable for any of its actions and is provided by and covered by unconditional and unlimited U.S. support. So now it went as far as targeting the Hamas's leadership and negotiating delegation in Qatar. And for the viewer's perspective, you have to know that Qatar is unlike a country like Iran, which is in a state of war with Israel, or Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, where there are factions that are anti-Israeli and carry arms against Israel one way or the other. This is a country that has established political and trade relations with Israel, a country that is neutral, is not party to the current conflict in Gaza or the Middle East, and it's actually playing a very prominent role in the mediation process, along with Egypt in attempting to end the war in Gaza. And also, and more importantly, they are a U.S. ally. Qatar hosts the largest U.S. air base in the world, a U.S. military base in the world, arguably. So as you can see, this country being targeted so arbitrarily by the Israelis is basically startling and inconceivable in many ways. And it just demonstrates that Israel now is in a state of drunk on power. They are drunk on carnage, they are drunk on bloodlust, and nothing is preventing them or containing them from pursuing their urges and bloodlusts. That's the only thing that I can describe it with. And I do not believe that the target of the airstrikes on the leadership compound in Doha, the goal was not really to assassinate the remaining Hamas leaders. They are not that significant anymore. Most of the prominent leaders have already been assassinated by the Israelis over the past couple of years, roughly couple of years. The real aim behind it was to completely sabotage and finish off and blow up all of the initiatives to reach a ceasefire in the near future. There was a serious, apparently what seemed to be a serious American proposal on the table, proposed by President Trump, to impose a ceasefire, execute a hostage or a detainee exchange deal, and also lead a serious negotiating process presided over by President Trump personally that will address ending the war and also the disarmament of Hamas, as well as the withdrawal of the Israeli occupation military from Gaza. So this seemed to be a very promising proposal, and Hamas reportedly was meeting, their leadership was meeting in Doha in order to study Mr. Trump's proposal, and probably the response was going to be positive to the American proposal. So the Israelis go ahead and they completely torpedo this peace initiative so that they can carry on with their ground operation on Gaza City. As you can see, Gaza City now is being bombarded. The high-rise buildings are being demolished by Israeli airstrikes. About 150,000 people already of the residents of the city have been forcefully displaced by the Israeli strikes. and hundreds of thousands more will be displaced. The remaining 700,000 or 600,000 residents of the city of Gaza will be forcefully displaced once Israel attacks the city and undertakes its ground onslaught on the city. So this gives us a clear perspective about the motives that drove Israel to take to carry out such an act of aggression against a sovereign state that is Qatar, a state that is neutral, a state that is actually participating in the mediation process on the request of the Israelis. The Israelis wanted the Qataris to be involved in the negotiations. So this is how they pay the Qataris back. I think we are before a situation maybe never seen before in international in the contemporary history of international relations, at least not in the past 20 years, have we seen something that is so unrealistic and so devoid of any commitment to the strategic relationships between various countries.
And it's obvious, sir, that Israel, of course, accomplished, as usual, its mission and did what it wants to do. Mr. Townsend, what does the strike reveal about the Israeli-U.S. alliance and intelligence coordination as well?
Well, I think it reveals that, again, as we've seen now on multiple occasions, there is not the close, cooperative discussions all the time, relationship between the U.S. and Israel. Israel seems to be going rogue. Israel and Netanyahu will do what they want to do. They didn't want to communicate with the Pentagon or with the administration until the last minute because they didn't want anything to stand in their way of going out to Qatar and doing what they wanted to do. They let the Pentagon know only at the last minute when nothing could be done. And so if I were in the White House and the National Security Council, I would be very upset with Netanyahu and Israel. This has set back ceasefire discussions maybe for a generation. This is something that is not this is not something that you do if you're really interested in peace. And then as Israel is showing, it doesn't seem to be they're interested in that at all. And also, it was quite outrageous to attack a country like Qatar, who has been in the middle of this, trying to help a key U.S. ally and friend, and then to have this kind of chaos rain down from the skies on them, killing some innocent civilians. And it's just something that is certainly overstepping a line, in my view. Israel doing this kind of thing. What the administration will do now, will Trump pick up the phone and call Netanyahu and tell him this cannot stand? Will there be something that will be a price that Israel will have to pay for putting the U.S. certainly putting the U.S. in a terrible place and Trump in a terrible place? So this was just bad in every aspect. Again, I'm not a fan of Hamas. I'm not a supporter of Hamas at all. But I certainly want peace to come, and I want the hostages to be released and a solution found. And this does none of that. It just brings tragedy to the region.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed Osman and Mr. Townsend, I wish you could stay with us because we have a breaking news now. Just a while ago, Israel again launched airstrikes across Sana'a, Yemen, hitting Houthis sites, including the Ministry of Defense and missile launch platforms. Reports indicate strikes also hit propagandist outposts, fuel depots and camps in Sana'a, Amran and El Jawf. Houthis air defenses are actively responding, while Israeli forces confirm targeting sites used for launching attacks on Israeli territory. This marks again a significant escalation in northern Yemen amid broader regional tensions. Mr. Osman, could you please comment on what's taking place now?
I think Israel is on a streak, Rana. Unfortunately, the Israelis are moving forward with their wanton acts of aggression everywhere. Yesterday, they bombed Doha. Now they bomb strategic targets in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, which, of course, is under the control of the Houthi rebel movement. Yet this does not give Israel any right to violate the sovereignty of Yemen so blatantly. And yes, even though the Houthis do launch missiles against against Israel, excuse me, this is in response to Israel's aggression, continued aggression in Gaza. And actually, Egypt has repeatedly said, and along with many other countries, that the key solution for defusing the tensions in the Middle East and restoring a degree of calm in the Middle East is by ending the carnage in Gaza. As long as the war goes on in Gaza, we will find hotspots of escalation igniting once more.
Dr. Mohammed, this is not hotspots of escalation. This is everyday escalation. Israel is striking a country every single day. This is unacceptable, sir, in every way and every mean. What's going on?
What's going on, as I told you in my previous intervention with you, that it's a textbook case of having a surplus of power and strength, and at the same time having the ability to use it without bearing the consequences because of the U.S. cover that is provided for the Israelis. And I think that even like yesterday, because maybe Doha overtook the news coverage of all of the affairs. At the same time, the flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla of civilian ships that is coming from Europe.
Yeah, they were struck as well.
Yes, what was struck by drones. And these are ships full of European and Middle Eastern activists. They're not full of Hamas operatives or Hezbollah militants.
Exactly.
So as you can see, Israel is on a mad streak. They have gone crazy. You know, this is when you have so much power and no one is deterring you from using this power, namely the United States, of course, and the rest of the international
community. I'll be back again to you to ask you, is this for all happening for the personal interest of Benjamin Netanyahu? Because there's something wrong. Mr. Townsend, how do you interpret the Pentagon's pre-strike notification, and how do you read what's happening now versus what happened yesterday?
Well, it's some very good points made. I think for Israel, striking out regionally constantly over a period of a year or two is as I said earlier, this Israel gone rogue in a lot of ways. This is something that is not in the long term in Israel's interests. It's turning so many people in the international community, in the United States, in Israel, certainly against the Netanyahu government, and looking on Israel as not being interested in finding a solution at all to the crisis. It is something that seems endless and hopeless, and Israel is perpetuating that without making any progress towards peace. So this is something that the administration. The administration will not find any kind of benefit towards itself by supporting this kind of action.
And the U.S. administration is losing credibility, and Donald Trump is losing credibility after all that's going on suddenly.
That's right. I think his case for the Nobel Peace Prize is going further and further and further away because he can't seem to rein in Netanyahu. In the past, an administration would be able to stop the Israelis from going off like this. There was both in terms of
Is it possible that a president that rules a country changes the name of a U.S. defense to a war department liable to take a Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, that's a whole separate issue. But you're right; it's not a good look for the Department of Defense to become the Department of War. They might think that makes them look tough, but it's disturbing to the rest of the community and to the rest of the global community. What kind of signal this sends? So I think this has been a dark time, and again, I wish that we had that kind of authority, that kind of pull, if you will, over Israel, where we could have the president talk to the prime minister, talk to the Netanyahu, and have it stop. But we don't have that relationship anymore. I think Netanyahu feels emboldened that he has the right and the ability to do whatever he wants to do. And that's something that certainly did not mark the relationship between the U.S. and Israel in the past. This is something that certainly has been accelerated by the Trump administration. So I look in horror at the continuing pictures on television of civilians being killed and rubble and no progress, if not stepping back from progress towards some kind of peace agreement.
It's horrific and it's catastrophic, and what's happening is unacceptable everywhere. Mr. Osman, how does the attack affect Qatar's role as a mediator in the Gaza conflict? And of course, I think you know that Qatar said it was stepping down for the time being, or stepping back.
Yes, before I answer that question, I also wanted to make a very quick comment about my colleagues' statements.
Go ahead, Mr. Osman.
The U.S., of course, I completely agree with them that the U.S. is not taking the necessary measures in order to contain or pressure Israel, or to at least veer it off this course of action that is being very detrimental to the stability and the security of the region and the world. To be absolutely honest, but I would have to also point out that the fact that the current U.S. administration is doing the opposite. Just a few hours ago, Vice President J.D. Vance said that, oh yes, we might not really be on board with attacking Doha, yet the silver lining is that probably we got some of Hamas's leadership. So this is the attitude that the American...
Yes, and sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Mohammed, but Donald Trump yesterday came out with another statement saying that he feels bad. I don't care how he feels.
Exactly. So it's not exactly a condemnation of Israel's behavior or actions, as you can see. But also, my dear colleague mentioned the previous administration. I would never exonerate them from what's going on right now. Under Biden's watch, 40,000 out of the 60,000 Palestinians who died under Biden's watch. Rafah was wiped off the map under Biden's watch. We should never forget that. Lebanon was eviscerated in a 2-month war, infrastructure destroyed, dozens of towns and villages wiped off the map, over 5,000 civilians killed under Biden's watch. So let's not pretend that this is only happening because Trump came back to office. This is a continuing trend because the U.S. political establishment in general, and also the U.S. deep state, dare I say the word, is very, very reluctant to pressure Israel because it seems that the United States is complicit in Israel's behavior in the region. And this brings me to your question about Qatar. Of course, now that it's very complicated. Now Qatar is in a very tough position. How can they continue the role actively and efficiently as a mediator while they have been targeted by one of the parties that they are mediating for, the Israelis?
Exactly.
You know, so it's crazy. Qatar said that it is suspending temporarily its involvement. And then they hinted that they will eventually continue the mediation if the circumstances allow that one way or the other. However, of course, the idea of the mediation itself, the negotiating process itself now is in dire jeopardy whether Qatar continues or not. And let's not forget, Rana, that Israel now does not only have tense relations with one of the mediators, it has very tense relations with two of the mediators. It has a very bad relationship with Egypt as well. Relationship between Israel and Egypt has hit a very low point. It has never been this bad since Egypt and Israel signed the peace treaty back in 1979. Tensions are at an all-time high, and we have seen this by how the Egyptian official rhetoric that is very tough on Israel and condemning Israel. And Israel, on the other hand, is also threatening Egypt every now and then with sanctions and or some trade measures and whatnot. So we have to understand that Israel is creating problems and creating crises with the mediators themselves, not only with the Palestinian side. So unfortunately, I'm very pessimistic about the entire negotiating process. I think that this war, given the current variables and the current circumstances, this war will continue for quite a time ahead, and the suffering of the Palestinians will be increased, of course, and probably we will see another round of escalation in the region within the next few weeks or months.
Mr. Osman, how does this affect region states' trust in United States diplomacy?
It completely diminishes it. Now the United States will never be viewed as a valued ally or as an ally that can be relied upon. Qatar is an ally of the United States. They host a big military base. They have always been a key proponent of U.S. policy in the region. They have helped out the United States in many, many regional files, including Afghanistan, and even helped them in mediating the Russia-Ukraine conflict, for example, in the exchange of prisoners of war and whatnot. So this valued ally right now has been thrown under the bus for the sake of Israel. Israel was allowed, another ally of the United States, to basically completely disregard the sovereignty of Qatar and target civilian infrastructure in Qatar and endanger the lives of Qatari citizens. And to my information, in fact, one security officer, one officer of the Qatari police or the security services did die in this attack, along with five Palestinians.
Yes, sir. One Qatari died.
Yes. So this is how the United States conducts itself as an ally. Unreliable and cannot be trusted by its other allies.
So this makes sense with what also Mr. Townsend mentioned, that Israel is now starting to harm the United States, and the credibility of the U.S. administration is getting minimal as we talk now, Mr. Osman. Mr. Osman, what are the implications for U.S.-Qatar relations, given Qatar's strategic importance?
I think it will cause some tensions in U.S.-Qatari relations. It seems that the United States has been eager to contain the tensions between it and Qatar at this point. They have they never condemned, but they said that, as you just said, President Trump said he said it's unfortunate that this happened, and that he could not inform the Qataris in due time. This is what he said, at least, even though some sources are saying that President Trump and members of the U.S. administration were completely aware of what's going to happen and basically gave it an okay. And I do believe that Israel would never dare attack Qatar or any other country, by the way, without a U.S. green light. So let's get that out of the way and speak about things plainly and honestly, Rama. However, I think Qatar will not forfeit its alliance with the United States. It cannot. And it invested so much in its relationship with the United States over the years, so they're not going to just abandon this relationship because they do not have an alternative, to be honest. Yet the tensions, of course, will shadow over the U.S.-Qatari relationship. Yet I do believe they will be mended eventually. However, Qatar's role as a mediator will be hampered permanently by what has happened.
Many thanks to Mr. Mohammed Osman and Mr. Jim Townsend for their expert analysis on this critical issue. Sorry, Mr. Jim Townsend, for the technical issue. I don't know whether it's from us or you, but that brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank, which always unveils the complexities of our changing world. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you.